Hey guys, Ryan and Greg here, and we're no longer at Camp Redwood, but that doesn't mean we're done talking about AHS 1984.
Say.
What was that?
We're going to share our final thoughts on Season 9 and answer all of your questions.
That's right, guys. Thank you for all of the questions that you guys asked in our community post. We're going to answer as many as we can in this video. Maybe not all of them, Greg, but as many as we can.
We'll try.
All right, let's get into it. 1984, what are our overall thoughts on the season?
Okay, for me, going into this season, the one thing I kept saying that I wanted was camp. And they gave that to me.
True.
I'm a big John Waters fan, so it looks like they took like Crybaby, Serial Mom, and they just like mashed it up into this horror genre trope of a slasher film. And I like that. I really like that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't perfect by any means, and the plot towards it started to tumble out of control past episode 5.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. You know, they leaned into the campiness, the cheesiness, a lot of the horror tropes that we enjoyed from all these movies, but we kind of expected that, and that's kind of the fun part of this season. But as most of these kind of shows go, after a certain amount of episodes, they're kind of filling in a lot of time, you know? There's a lot of time to fill in these episodes in terms of story, and it kind of just goes in weird kind of twists that that don't really work plot-wise. Now, having said that, it did a really good job of like building this world in the 1980s, in 1984 specifically, but then hopped around a whole bunch. Like a fun world with these characters, these very young, vibrant characters, and it worked.
Yeah, it totally worked. And on top of that, they were able to keep themselves closed up. They didn't go out and do, okay, what do we need to add any connections to Asylum? Do we have to add? It was tiny, very tiny.
They scaled back.
Yes, and I appreciate that a lot. Please.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I agree with you. There were parts of this when it got a little predictable, in my opinion. We kind of saw a few things coming.
This is season 9. We've seen every season, so some things are going to come across for us and go, all right, well, I've seen this before.
That's a really good point.
Honestly, one of the best things about this season, other than just the campiness, the music. The soundtrack's perfect.
Yeah, it was a lot of the music selections were like spot on the nose. Like you kind of almost could have called it, you know, going into the scene that you're about to watch. But it was perfect. I mean, I love the '80s, like in terms of like all those different pop bands and rock and roll and all that kind of stuff. So it was perfectly placed in this season. Now, one thing I will say is that I feel like we sorely missed the void left by Evan Peters and Sarah Paulson and Jessica Lange and all of those AHS veterans that we love to see. It felt weird watching a season of American Horror Story without seeing any of those.
But this was the perfect season to do that if you're going to do a slasher trope where you're going to put a bunch of kids in a summer camp. You can get away with it in that case. But yes, they were missing. I don't know if that scene, actually, if they were to do a scene with Billy Idol, played by Evan Peters, how that would have come across thinking about it now.
Maybe too forced?
One, maybe too forced, and two, you would have been like, people would have been like, oh, we missed you the entire season, why weren't you here, and all this, so it didn't happen. I want to see them come back.
Yes.
But I loved this group of actors they got this season.
This is Brooks. She's new in town. Brooks. This is Xavier, Ray, and Chet.
Now, speaking of that cast, let's talk about them. Let's talk about the OGs first. Emma Roberts off the top as the lead character. She's
great the first 5 episodes. Yeah. And then she's just like, goodbye, and pieces out for the rest of the season. Even though she is still the final girl, it just did not feel like her character really, like they put her in the back a little bit.
Yeah, it was a weird kind of arc for her. It wasn't.
Yes.
There wasn't much going on there. I did enjoy though Billie Lourd as Montana.
She got her own show because of this season, I think.
Yeah, I think she was awesome, and it showed like some more range that she could bring to the show itself.
One of my favorite
characters. She was batshit crazy at one point, and then she was completely nostalgic and sorry and apologetic for everything she had done, and just to see her getting more screen time is awesome for this show. And also Leslie Grossman, who played Margaret Booth. Now in the past, Leslie Grossman's played kind of like these superficial bimbo types on the show, but this season she got kind of a lot more to work with.
Yeah, she's MVP 1 of this season. There are 2 more, and you can take a guess of who they are when we get to them. But I absolutely loved her character, and now I was thinking of season 10. I know we'll get to that in the next video. I just want to make sure they cast her and they give her any role she wants, because I can't get enough of her.
Yeah, she did an awesome job, and she had some of the most like laugh out loud lines of the year.
Yeah, her and Billy Lord, easily.
Yeah, her and Billy Lord. Also, I think another one of those people on your list of most valuable players has to be John Carroll Lynch for Benjamin Richter.
Why are you telling me this? Why are you appearing to me now after all this time?
Yes, because again, we talked about this. He was by far and away, I think, their best villain next to Michael Langdon. He's not even a villain. You can't even call him that anymore when you watch the entire season.
Much more complex than we first thought.
Super complex, and again, well written. He's one of the most well written characters we've had on this show in a very long time.
His arc on this season was awesome, and I think that he definitely, as you said, was more than just a slasher. We learned about the complex backstory, and he was very much the heart of this season when it all comes down to it. I thoroughly enjoyed what he brought to this season, and I hope to see more of this side of John Carroll Lynch in future seasons if he wants to come back and not just be a killing machine.
I hope so. Maybe they give him the role of Lucifer. We'll see. Now, Cody Fern with a comedic, quirky approach this season compared to last season where he was, the Antichrist.
Yeah, so the darkest soul in,
The writers are like, let's change that up this time around.
Yes. I think he enjoyed that.
Yes.
You could tell that he enjoyed having fun with this role in 1984, and just then he got his murderous spree going towards the end of it. He got some revenge, but this side of Cody Fern is really fun to see him work with this kind of character as opposed to just a one-track, I am the Antichrist Michael Langdon.
It's your fault I'm a monster. It's your fault I'll never be on the cover of TV Guide. It's your fault my future is in radio.
And then we got a few cameos from 4 AHS veterans, Lily Rabe, Dylan McDermott, Leslie Jordan, and Finn Whitrock.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that, of course, Lily Rabe had the standout performance.
Yes, easily. And she's done this type of character in previous seasons before, the traumatized mother, and goes on has a mental break and goes on a murdering spree, like just kind of traumatized from the horrors that she's been through. And as soon as she showed up in this season, you and I were kind of just blown away. Like that was like a standout episode. That was a standout performance.
Bring it on.
And it's like a familiar face that we know, right? So like it was really effective in kind of bringing another layer to this season's story.
Yeah.
Bobby! No!
Now, talking about the newcomers of this season, we have to talk about MVP number 3 on that list. Has to be Angelica Ross.
Yeah.
Her character's just like Mr. Jingle / Richter. We have Rita / Donna Chambers, and again, they gave her such a great role to work with and given her all that backstory. I loved it, and she did a great job with the performance as well.
Yeah, totally. You can tell that this performance definitely is going to have Ryan Murphy asking her to return for another season of this, and I'm sure that she would love to do this. Like, just all around great performance, and like broke stereotypes, of being like the final girl and kind of just being so involved in kind of some of the twists and turns through the season.
Yeah.
Really effective, and she made a lot of her arc was really cool to see her completely change. In the beginning, just a psychopath, basically. Let's put it clearly, And she becomes someone that was really effective in delivering some of the more emotional moments of the season.
Yeah, the second they had the episode with her father, completely changed my opinion on the character, and I loved it. Good job, guys.
Accept it. Follow in my footsteps. There's nothing else you can do.
Now, the other newcomers like Zach Villa, Matthew Morrison, Gus Kenworthy, Deron Horton, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Were any standouts out of that list for you?
Zach Villa.
As Richard Ramirez?
I guarantee you he'll be back the next season as someone else.
Yeah.
At the same time, I really, really, really think Gus Kenworthy did a great job for what he was given.
I think he started out a little shaky.
Yes,
I think
did.
we both agreed on that.
Yes.
But then as the season progressed, you could tell he was getting a little bit more comfortable in the whole process in front of the camera, and he had a lot of funny lines as well.
I mean, one of my favorite lines from this season, and most memorable lines, I think, right now, is still, guys, I totally did those steroids.
I totally did those steroids.
Yeah, we all know!
And another thing that we learned at that AHS 100th episode Red Carpet is that Zach is like very familiar with Billy Idol. So he was like the perfect person, the conduit to be bringing these Billy Idol vibes into the season, and even the dance he was doing, like he killed that. It was hysterical.
You're making me angry now because now all I think is why didn't they just have Zach Villa just play Billy Idol as well?
In a different wig.
Yes, just put him on a different wig, and they see each other like, oh God, it's like the Spider-Man meme. God,
that would have been hysterical.
Let's not forget about Matthew Morrison as
How
Trevor.
could you forget, Greg?
Well, yeah, of course, the giant friend he had with him throughout the entire season. It was hard to take him seriously for a minute because of everything on Glee coming to this show.
Right.
I was like, wait, what is going on? But after a while, it just started.
And then on top of that, they also give him a huge package. It makes him even hard to take serious.
And even Ray had a redemption arc that I really liked. I wish there was more with him and Brooke because I think they were the two characters that the showrunners were like, let's move them down the ladder a little bit.
Right.
And we'll come back to that later if we can.
Right.
And they were able to wrap them up pretty well in the season finale, but I feel like there was something else there they wanted to do, and then they just said, nah.
Yeah, they could have gone deeper with it. I mean, it was just like ghost human sex, and then we got a little backstory on Ray, but there could have been a little bit more there that we could have seen coming.
The season finale, when Bobby goes into Brooke's house, those photos, they should have had like another baby there.
Oh, you're saying like, what if she got
pregnant?
pregnant?
It looks a little different than the other babies.
What if she got pregnant at Camp Redwood?
They didn't do that though.
Now let's talk about our favorite episodes of the season. We talked about this briefly a little bit earlier. Mine has to be episode 7, The Lady in White, when we got the whole backstory on Lily Rabe's character, Lavinia Richter. I just thought it was so effective in completely like giving us context to the story, right? And giving us this background and this traumatic past that like where all this trauma originated at Camp Redwood. So I really thought it was an effective way to kind of give heart to this story.
The wrong son died that day. It should have been you.
And again, you had AHS veterans returning, Lily Rabe and Dylan McDermott. So that's like the cherry on top for this episode. I gotta go with episode 1, the premiere. The slasher tropes mixed with the AHS theme itself, just a match made in heaven. I loved it. With that said, honestly, you could take the first 5 episodes and say that's volume 1, and then the next few episodes and say that's volume 2. Overall, great season, but obviously I think those first 5, if you were to put that on just some DVD down the line or make it your own movie out of those first 5, boom, you got everything there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, immediately off the bat when we're introduced to the season and you're in that aerobics class and just like the cheesy montage of all their names come flying across the screen and the music bumping.
Good.
It was so good, and it really, really captured like that time period. And then you just knew that this season was going to be a whole lot of fun.
All right, let's talk about favorite kills of this season. This is a slasher season, so there's plenty of them to go with here. But if I were to pick my favorite, I love when Ray gets his head chopped off. That's a great one.
Very good.
But number 1 for me, when Brooke kills Montana and the kids show up on the bus.
That was perfect. That was awesome. And they're just screaming because they just arrived to camp. You know, usually an exciting time when you arrive at camp and there's just a murder going on in front of you.
Only on AHS.
But I think my favorite is probably the most cathartic one is when the entire campground of ghosts just kill Richard Ramirez that first time, or the second time after he had already, come back from Satan, reanimating him. But Montana stabs him, and then literally everyone gets a shot, and it's so gruesome. It's just so much blood. They're like, yeah, add more blood, add more blood. But I just found it really, really good.
Now, the thing about that scene is we asked everyone in the comment section, I felt like that's very familiar, but I can't figure out what it was from.
Right.
It's the Axemen.
Yeah.
The death of the Axemen in Coven.
Right, a little homage to all the witches when they teamed up and just brutally murdered the Axemen because he was a horrible piece of shit. All right, time now, guys, to answer your questions. Here's a little Q&A. We're going to do this pretty quickly here because we want to get a whole bunch of your questions answered. Let's start off with Lucas Campbell, who writes, LOL, what happened to Richard going to hotel? Lucas, honestly, we have the same question.
Don't know.
We don't know what happened. If he's stuck there at at Camp Redwood, how the hell does he actually die in prison? And then how does his ghost visit the hotel on Devil's Night? The only thing that might make sense is that if Ryan Murphy actually made this season as its own separate universe, an offshoot of what we've seen in other AHS seasons.
Okay, all right, I can go with that.
I don't know if I believe it though, because there were some connections, obviously, Briarcliff Manor to the larger universe of AHS.
Hey, Stephen King, again, Dark Tower, you got different levels of that tower, different universes, so you can just say it's just a little offshoot. I'm okay with that, I guess. It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, you're right, but I think I just explain it as maybe it's a plot hole that the writers will hopefully in the future explain what happened in there, because I think a lot of fans are kind of just, that's their biggest question after watching this season.
It's a plot hole. Wrong Way says, who or what was the lake creature? Again, I honestly think that it was just a representation of Bobby, and they just didn't want to have a child reach out and grab a grown man and pull him down to the lake. I think that's the only reason they did that.
Yeah, it was more of like an egregious homage to Friday the 13th than it was anything that had real consequences in the season itself. Like, I don't know how you explain that the child body would have been under the lake and turned into a lake monster, and then just took his older brother down into the lake. It was more just, hey, we're trying to get a Friday the 13th reference in here. Let's just do it. Let's do it here.
And we don't want to get sued, having a child get thrown into the lake like this. No, good idea.
Next up is Blake Brooks. Who from the main characters this season would you guys rather spend a lonely night in the forest with? And who of you two would be the first to die at Camp Redwood, and how? Greg, who do you want to spend the night with at Camp Redwood?
Richter, Jingles.
I agree. I'm actually with you on this.
He'll protect us.
He will protect us. He's actually not a bad guy at all. He has interesting stories to tell around the campfire.
I'm totally going to throw him out there, go get him, and just wait back.
Yeah, I'm not scared of him. I would rather have him on my team. I know we'd be friends. Which one of us dies first when we go to Camp Redwood?
Well, this is a 2019 story, so we know I'm not going to die first anymore. It's going to be you. There you go.
Great point. How will I die?
When I push you in front of the killer, sadly. I'm sorry. Listen, it's like chasing a bear. A bear comes after you. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just got to outrun you.
Great point.
Dire Misfortune says, Greg, what's your initial reaction to Jingles getting pulled off the boat? Did you expect it to happen? I was 100% certain they were going to do that scene with someone getting pulled into the lake, but I honestly thought the setup was there with Chet.
I agree.
Yeah, when they dropped him in the water, I thought it was going to be Chet somehow, some way, to pull Margaret down at the end. The writers, with a better idea, did not do that, obviously. I love the way Margaret went out, and I love the way they used it for Richter at the end to represent him meeting up with his family again. I dig it. I just didn't see it going that way, and that's a good thing.
Next up is Zach Robinson. Which past characters would you like to interact with the characters from 1984? I really thought for a second here that we were going to get Lana Winters interviewing the survivors, Brooke and Donna at the end of the season.
If Sarah Paulson had time, we probably would have.
Yeah, that would have been really cool to see her kind of like for a TV special again, which we've seen. And I think it would have been also cool, and maybe in future seasons we see this, that we return to parts of the murder house, or like, at least we know that certain ghosts can leave the murder house on Halloween. Maybe they go to the campground.
How do they get down there? They go camping for one season. The family in Murder House goes camping.
Greg, if you were stuck in the murder house, you'd get sick of being indoors for that long. Wouldn't you want to one night just go on a camping trip?
Season 15.
It's in LA. It's outside of LA.
Season 15, Return to Camp Redwood. Again, the Murder House family decide to go out there. The Harmons are like, we're taking a vacation for Halloween.
Yeah.
Stupid son of a bitch.
Can't believe she killed me.
The Harmons want to go, on a really nice little camping trip. Like, I'm watching that episode. I don't know about you.
That would be awesome, because at the same time, there could be a rule in play that if you stay there past midnight, though, on Halloween, you're stuck on the new campground.
So no longer stuck at Murder House, now you're stuck at the campground.
Like if you go to a hotel and you're there past midnight, you're stuck in the hotel now. Jesse Allen says, you had the stew is stew line from last season, but what's the most iconic line from this season? Yeah. All right, but what's this season's line?
I like nothing. First of all, will ever top the stew is stew.
Yeah, they didn't have that line this season.
They didn't have that. No other season has a stew is stew line. Let's be clear. But I think the '80s will never die. That'd be nice on a shirt with '80s.
Yeah.
'80s logo.
You can find that probably anywhere on the street though. At the same time,
point.
I'm gonna go again with guys. I totally did those steroids.
I totally did those steroids.
Yeah, we all know!
All right, next up, Sophia Colligan. Can you give us your official rankings of all the seasons? Now, we did this last year, so it's always fun to kind of rethink this out again and see where we rank everything. Mine goes like this: Asylum, Murder House, Coven, Apocalypse, Freak Show, 1984, Hotel, Cult, and Roanoke. Not a fan of Roanoke, sorry guys.
You will change your mind when we break that season down, I promise.
We'll do breakdown soon.
I will change your mind on this.
Well,
speaking of that, we broke down Asylum, and so my list has gone through some changes.
Yeah.
My list is Murder House, Asylum, Coven, Cult. Cult has moved up.
Wow.
Colt's moved up as the years go on, and Cheeto's about to be heading out of office soon. So I think it's going up there. I'm telling you, you're gonna dig this season as the years go on. Then I have Roanoke, 1984, Apocalypse, Hotel, Freak Show.
I'm gonna change your mind about Freak Show if you change my mind about Roanoke.
Deal. Hale C says, I'm wondering if they'll ever tie together all of these haunted lands. Murder House, Roanoke, Redwood, somehow, some way. I sure hope so.
Yeah, I think that we were wondering if we'd get any explanation on why exactly it's Camp Redwood. We know the blood curse from, Lavinia Richter, but why does all this supernatural stuff happen on certain locations in the AHS universe?
I'm 99% certain they're going to answer this question probably in season 10.
Or 11 or 12 or 13 or 14 or 15.
Yes, whenever they decide it's the final season, maybe
Right.
they'll do it. But I have a feeling, again, if Ryan Murphy's writing the next season, as he says he is, like it could be the final season, just to wrap up maybe these first 10 seasons, and they continue going on somewhere else, then I have a feeling there's a person or there's one person out there who may be able to wrap them all together. It rhymes with Lucifer.
Next up is Giovanni C. If you could change anything, what would it be? Mankind's reliance on fossil fuels.
Yes. Honestly, Richard Ramirez. If I could change that and say, okay, let's not do that. Taking the Richard Ramirez character, and then you also have the character Bruce. They should have combined them to make one character named Bruce
And it didn't
for
need,
Zach.
Yeah, it didn't need to be Richard Ramirez, who was a real-life serial killer.
They could have had Zach play Bruce and just have him following Brooke that way. They didn't need to have it be this glorification of Richard Ramirez using his identical backstory for this role, and there was no payoff. I honestly thought that even at the final moments of the season, I thought, okay, they're probably going to reveal that he was a copycat. He wasn't actually Richard Ramirez. Nope, didn't happen.
Which might explain why the connection between Hotel was a major plot hole there.
Yeah, and now they just have a plot hole because of it.
Right.
With that said, again, I did not, it just left a bad taste in my mouth for the Richard Ramirez character. They should not have used him. They should have just turned him into Bruce and gave Dylan McDermott another role.
That's a good point, because all you need is a serial killer to kind of push the story forward, right?
Yes.
It didn't have to be anyone
You got
that we
the
knew from
Axeman.
another.
No.
It didn't have to be anyone that we knew from another season, and it didn't have to be anyone that we knew from real life.
No.
Here's a question from Landon Pruitt. Why was Xavier's backstory even there? Why was that guy, I think he's talking about Clark here, killed, and why did we never see him again? I just want to know the purpose of that backstory.
And
I just want to know what the purpose was of that backstory.
It was just for that peephole death scene. That's all that was for.
Yeah.
They wanted to use a new character, and they did not want to use any of the main cast and having them look like perverts.
Right.
That's all it was.
And each of these characters had a little bit of a backstory that they dove into, right?
And they wanted to give Xavier
a little bit of shady,
something.
yeah. And they kind of went heavy with the cliche struggling actor working in porn in Hollywood and just trying to make a name for himself, and then comes across some shady people. So I see why it happened, but it was kind of a little bit unnecessary.
I thought making porn was bad. What? Nothing.
Gabrielle says, where do you guys rate the opening credit sequences among all the other seasons? I'd say 1984 was up there as far as one of the best. Coven was my favorite. 1984, second. First off, shouts out to Kyle Cooper. He's the creator of the AHS opening title sequences. I love them.
Yep.
Now, if I were to rank them or just say what my favorite is, it's Gotta be Freak Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. The stop motion kind of.
With the puppets?
Yeah, it looks so creepy, but it really captures the tone of that season as well. But like you said, they're all really good.
Yeah.
They're all like super strong. I mean, the sound design in all of them are epic. Hotel had a really cool motif going with all the commandments and all that kind of stuff, and kind of looking through the peephole, different like
pulling out of the
hotel
bed.
Yeah,
I loved all that.
Even Cults, kind of a more contemporary look at the horrors, was really well done as well. So I think across the board, these are all good, but our favorite happens to be Freak Show.
Yeah.
Next up, Nick Ford. So did Brooke sleep with her fiance's brother? A lot of unanswered questions.
Well,
Good question.
They answered it. Well, Brooke answered it.
Do we trust Brooke? That's the bigger question.
I guess you're just gonna have to trust her. That's it.
I think that she didn't sleep with him. I trust her in this case, but I do think that Brooke is now Satan's child. I think she was reanimated by Satan, and that's how it explains that she survived.
I believe that too.
I woke up in a white room. I thought it was heaven until I felt all of this pain.
Mimi says, how is 1984 connected? I'm genuinely confused.
I mean, the most obvious connection that was just basically hammered over our heads is the Margaret Booth Briarcliff Manor purchase. You know, she just is a tycoon that kind of wants to buy all these horrific places in real estate. I don't know why, but that's the main connection that tells us that this is part of a larger AHS universe, right?
Yeah.
And Richard Ramirez. Although this Richard Ramirez gets out of prison and then gets killed and then gets re-killed and killed, and he never makes it back to prison and then dies in prison like it happened in Hotel.
Daniel Harmon says, don't you think Rod Stewart's 1988 Forever Young would have been an even better closing song? Let's take a look.
I like it.
I like it too.
But we're not crying.
Yeah, I need the emotion. Sorry, Rod.
Next one up from Lady Jane. Why couldn't they break the curse and let the ghosts be free? This is something that I didn't get completely. I thought that once Lavinia Richter found some sort of peace in the afterlife, that she basically could just break the curse, that these ghosts should just be able to set free and go into the afterlife and either go to heaven or hell or whatever.
I think they're saving that again for another season down the line. Not exactly, they're not gonna go back and show like Camp Redwood or anything like that, or Hotel.
Right.
But I'm saying they're going to bring this up, and this thing about the hellscapes and how you're stuck on this land,
right,
that's gonna come back around and someone's gonna break it.
I would love to see that, because we need to get some explanations on these kind of purgatories that are on in America, but like in that kind of weird.
Oh, they are totally gonna do that. I guarantee you they're gonna come back to it somehow, and it's gonna end with someone breaking that curse, and you're gonna see like a exterior shot of
every one of these locations.
Yep. And just ghostless disappear.
Yes.
It's gonna be better than that, but I have a feeling that someone's gonna break the curse. Finally, from John Tavares, what do you think the next season is going to be about?
John, you're getting ahead of yourself, because the next video we do is going to be all about our season 10 predictions and theories. So you're not going to want to miss that one. We have a bunch of ideas, and they're not only aliens. It's a whole lot more than just aliens.
All right, everyone, that's it for us over here. Let us know what you thought of the season overall in the comment section down below.
Make sure you subscribe, because we have more AHS videos coming your way. Even though the season is over, we're going to go back and break down older seasons as well.
Yes.
I don't want to watch Roanoke, though.
Overdoing it.
No, please.